Again, surprised to see him up here against Kenta Hiroki, a player from the Michigan area. Game 3, they've been given the go-ahead. You've got a Pack Rat and Mirror. Mono Black Devotion on one side, Black Green Devotion on the other. Mann underway. It's time for a duress. Mann on 6 cards right now as well. You do see Hiroki's hand. He's got Underworld Connections, an Abrupt Decay, 2 copies of Devour Flesh, a Dark Betrayal, Golgari Guildgate, and a Mutavault.
Wow, so great hand there for Kenta. He's got the most important card in the mirror, which is Underworld Connections. He also has a way to deal with his opponent's Underworld Connections and Abrupt Decay, along with Dark Betrayal to deal with any kind of Pack Rat shenanigans. So pretty good hand there for Kenta. If I'm Steven, I think you just have to take the Underworld Connections.
Slog through the removal.
Yeah, unless you think maybe, unless he has connections of his own and he's afraid of, and maybe he wants to just try to take the Abrupt Decay to save it, but Connections is by far the most powerful card in this matchup.
It's funny, like, you know, you look at this opening hand, and this is, I think if you're on the Hiroki side, it's like, that's just a snap keep.
Yeah.
So I just have a bunch of removal. I have a really good card in my hand in Connections, and I can kill your first X threats. And I have an answer for your connection, so I can't imagine mulliganing.
Yeah, and this is kind of the reason that people like Black Green Devotion is because after board, they just have more ways to deal with Underworld Connections for the mirror. As you saw, Kenta drew a Golgari Charm, which is another way to deal with Connections.
A little light on lands. This man is just going to play a Mutavault and pass the turn back. Hiroki going to take a draw here. Picks up a copy of Erebos. There's a Mutavault. Pass the turn back. The tough thing here is because he has so much removal in his hand, this isn't a situation where Mann can actually take advantage of the fact that Hiroki doesn't have lands.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really pressure him with Mutavault or anything like that because of those multiple copies of Devour Flesh and the Dark Betrayal.
Yeah, Kenta does have, he drew an Erebos last turn, so if you can get that to resolve, that's some card advantage, but light on mana right now. Steven's going to cast a duress. Now he's going to see that Kenta has a lot of action, but not a lot of mana. So
the cards that were added to the grip again were the Charm and the Erebos. Mann knows about the Devour Flesh, the Dark Betrayal, and the Abrupt Decay already.
Yeah, and tough spot for Steven because obviously he's probably hoping to take out the Abrupt Decay so that he can stick any Underworld Connections, but obviously Kenta has the Golgari Charm as well now. Yeah. So unfortunately there. Let's see if Steven decides to go just for a Dark Betrayal now. I've seen a lot of players, Chris Piccolo was one of the players who was talking to me about this, that he thought that maybe because mono black decks are kind of cheating on the number of Dark Betrayals they play on their sideboard now, that maybe just keeping in Desecration Demon is correct. Obviously that was a card that people were boarding out a lot in the mirror, but he thinks that people don't have nearly as many answers to that card anymore after board as they used to. You see 1 copy of Dark Betrayal in Kenta's sideboard. I'm not sure how many Steve has, but a lot of the lists are shaving those numbers.
Well, Steven has 0. There's a duress. We can actually see what he's working with now. Biobite's going to bite the dust. Great Merchant and a Swamp. Pretty tame hand, all things considered. However, Mann knows that Hiroki drew that duress for the turn, so he knows that there's a land that's not coming. So he can actually fire Mutavault and get in some damage here.
So yeah, just with the Great Merchant, nothing really else in his hand. Probably just attack here with Mutavault and play a land and pass.
Depending on what he drew, we'll see if he picked up anything nice here. There's a Thoughtseize. It's not bad. He's going to take Erebos right away. I mean, with the speed at which he took that card, he definitely has a plan.
Yeah.
You know, or at least he's worried about Erebos and thinks that he can overcome all this removal.
Erebos, you know, another card draw engine, obviously, not something he wants to have to play against. Kenta finally draws a 3rd land for the turn.
Going to put a Swamp into play. Pass the turn back. Everything's available now. I think Mann was maybe hoping that wouldn't happen, but at the same time, he's going to draw a land eventually, right?
He's going to draw a land eventually. However, Kenta's still not out of it. He's got a lot of removal, but again, it's all going to come down to who can stick an Erebos or an Underworld Connections first. Obviously, Kenta's probably in a little advantage because he has answers to an Underworld Connections, whereas Steven really just doesn't. So I think Kenta's probably still feeling pretty good right here, but he's light on land, and he doesn't have any of the action spells. He just has removal, so.
Mann goes reaching. It's another discard spell.
Wow. At this point, you have to wonder whether or not Steven regrets not taking the Abrupt Decay earlier, because now he would have been able to take Abrupt Decay and Golgari Charm, and the top deck Connections puts him right back into it.
He has to pass the turn back here. Hiroki going to draw a card. It's another copy of Mutavault. It's these kind of attrition battles with this card that we often see in these Black Devotion mirrors.
Yeah, it's part of the reason people don't like having 4 copies of Thoughtseize and Duress after board, because it's one of those cards that's it's very important early. Like you want to be able to get that Connections, but at the same time, you really just don't want to draw them later in the game.
Hiroki able to attack for 2 with his first Mutavault after playing the second one to activate it. Puts Mann down to 16. You see the life totals here, 16-18 in favor of Hiroki. Hiroki with 2 Devour Flesh and a Golgari Charm in his hand. Mann, we know he has a Gray Merchant. That's all we know right now, however. He has to pass the turn back.
X.
Hiroki draws a card. It's looks like a Bile Blight. May have been a Thoughtseize. I think it's the new art of old art of Thoughtseize. So he's going to fire that off and going to show a Thoughtseize and a Gray Merchant. A little surprised to not see Steven throw off that Thoughtseize.
No, because I think he knew that the card that Hiroki drew. So, wow, I'm surprised Kenta didn't take the Thoughtseize though. I actually would have taken the Thoughtseize. You have plenty of ways to kill a Gray Merchant. What you must be afraid of though is Thoughtseize into connections, because then you take the Golgari Charm and then Steven's right back into it. So if I'm Kenta, I think I might have just taken the Thoughtseize there just to protect my Golgari Charm.
It doesn't seem like Gray Merchant's going to have a huge impact on this game. With the trigger on the stack, you just Devour Flesh in a way. Nothing really happens. The 2 Devour Fleshes are, they're kind of reserved for the creatures anyway. So, interesting decision. We'll see if that comes back to hurt him or not, as Mann does draw his card for the turn. We know he has a Thoughtseize. Not sure the card that he picked up, but he will at least think about it for a while to bluff something at this point.
Yeah, I think Steven should know everything in Kenta's hand at this point.
No, he knows all of those cards.
He knows all the cards. So Thoughtseize really doesn't have to get cast just yet. He might want to hold on to it, or he might want to get rid of the Golgari Charm now, knowing that he's not going to have many other opportunities in the future, perhaps, if Kenta draws like a Duress or something.
I'm just going to pass the turn back here. So Hiroki draws a card. It's a Swamp. Still 2 Devour Flesh and a Golgari Charm over there. Are we firing Mutavault? We are. Does Mann have a removal spell? Does he want to use a removal spell if he has a removal spell? Looks like he's just going to take 2 and go down to 14. Hiroki's going to play a Swamp, pass the turn back. Mann will take a draw. It almost feels like it's connections or bust. Maybe Erebos 2 is still... I think his life total is high enough that it's still good.
It's good, but connections, yeah, connections can change this game completely. He still has the Thoughtseize, so he can go Thoughtseize your Golgari Charm, Underworld Connections. I'm going to try to win this game now. Let's see what's going to cast here. Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So he's going to try to draw into a land here. He hasn't played a land for a turn, so it's a little greedy, but he wants to try to draw into a land and cast Thoughtseize.
Yeah, but the charm can still take care. Even if he were to draw a land and cast Thoughtseize, the charm would still take care of it. So.
Oh, did he have double? Oh, okay. I thought he only had the Mutavault.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, it's surprising he didn't just go Thoughtseize Connections go. Because what did he thought? Did he really think Kenta was going to draw into another Abrupt Decay or Charm?
Attack for 4 here. That play is a little surprising. I felt like he was holding the Thoughtseize just to be able to set up that line.
Yeah, I thought that was exactly. Yeah, why wouldn't you snap just Thoughtseize the Golgari Charm away and cast Underworld? You're basically just drawing one card. Why would you throw away your connections that quickly? I mean, on the off chance Kenta draws, he already has, there's already an Abrupt Decay and a Charm in the graveyard. The off chance that Kenta draws another one, fine, you lose a card. But if he doesn't draw one, you're at such an advantage.
There's a Nightfell Spectre. That one's reserved for Devour Flesh. You see, well, maybe not. Abrupt Decay was the draw.
Yeah, I think you probably still have to pull the trigger on Devour Flesh here. Save your Abrupt Decay for those connections.
Yeah. Hiroki's going to take a look at his hand and certainly think about it.
I could even see just casting a Hero's Downfall in case you're afraid that Steve is going to activate his Mutavault and you have to cast another spell this turn. But
sure.
Either way, I think I'd want to save that Abrupt Decay for possible connections. Because I really think connections is really the only card that's going to get Steven back into this game.
Yeah, how to sequence his removal spells for Hiroki, that's the big question. And still be able to chip away with Mutavault in the same turn. So he still wants to do some damage racing here.
So it looks like Steven might have another connections in his hand.
I think that's the case right now.
Yeah, it looks like he has Thoughtseize connections.
There's Devour Flesh. Nightfell Spectre's going to bite the dust. Mann will gain a little bit of life. Here comes Mutavault. Yep, in for 2. All right.
So if Steven draws a land here, this can be a really good turn for him. He needs to get rid of that Abrupt Decay.
Doesn't look like a land. Looks like another copy of Thoughtseize. Jeez. It's a lot of those.
So I don't know. Given the way he played the last Underworld Connections, I wouldn't be surprised if he just cast Connections on that Swamp to draw a card to try to draw into a land. Kenta is tapped out. He only has one Golgari Gilgate untapped, so he can't respond with an Abrupt Decay this turn. So Steven might just try to draw a card, but no, he's going to leave with Dossies.
There you see the Devour Flesh that he knows about, the Abrupt Decay, and the Hero's Downfall he did not know about. So will he take Abrupt Decay to work his Connections through? Is his life total high enough to be able to do this? He goes down to 8 from this. The 2 Mutavaults will put him down to 4, and then, you know, the Connection activation will put him down to 3. That's some pretty scary territory.
Yeah, but I don't know what other options Steven has at this point, really. I mean, he's going to have to try to draw into a Gray Merchant.
He's going to take the Decay. The other question here is, do you try to cast the Connection just past the turn, or do you try to buff a removal spell and maybe your opponent won't attack? I think you might just have to cast Connections.
I think you have to cast Connections here, because next turn it gives you the option to draw a card and still have mana up to activate your Mutavault and block then. You could also, like, Vile Blight could be a huge draw. There's a lot. It looks, oh, he might have a Vile Blight.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, you might be able to, like, the way that he's playing the game, like, he's very deliberate. I feel like he's just trying to bluff multiple things that he may or may not have. Okay, so it's a Pack Rat. He's going to pass the turn back.
I don't like that play at all. I would have rather tried to draw into a land and play Pack Rat the next turn, or draw into a Vile Blight. You know about all the removal in his hand.
That's tough. Like, you know, you can counter the Devour Flesh with your Mutavault, like by activating your Mutavault, but the Hero's Downfall is always going to take care of the Pack Rat. So,
but I don't even know if you want to do that though, because you're so light on mana. He's only got 4 mana in play. The Connection play, I just think, gives you so many more live draws.
Serving in with Mutavault here, a little more conservative. Hiroki did pick up an Underworld Connections for his draw. Mann's going to go down to 6. I wonder if Hiroki's going to maybe Hero's Downfall this or just cast the Connections. All right, he's going to cast Downfall. All right.
Yeah, so Steven gives himself a turn here.
Desecration Demon, I believe, was the draw. Not positive. Most of the time people leave that out, but it looks like, yeah, that looked like we drew. And this is what you talked about, how people are cheating on Dark Betrayals now. Because this Desecration Demon can kind of run rampant over this board, and Devour Flesh would gain him 6 life, which I think is the spot where he would love to be right now.
Yeah, I think Steven's basically saying, okay, I'm going to go up to 12 here, give myself a little more time to get my Connections going.
Yeah. So Devour Flesh is going to take care of the Desecration Demon, yes, but he's going to gain 6 life, and now Hiroki has to slow down a little bit by casting Underworld Connections before passing the turn back.
Wow, so that's a huge turn for Steven, because Hiroki could have attacked for 2 and cast Thoughtseize and taken Steven's Connection. But he chose to just tap out for Connections, which I am very surprised. I mean, I understand that I think he knows that Steven might have a Thoughtseize. I don't think he even knows about the other Thoughtseize. So,
no, he doesn't.
Yeah, very interesting play there for Kenta. I probably would have just attacked for 2 and played Thoughtseize.
Mann picks up a Mutavault off of his Underworld Connections activation and passes the turn back. And now we're in Connections land for both of these players. But it looks like Hiroki picked up a copy of Abrupt Decay. He's going to start by activating his Connections and going down to 15. He'll take a draw. It's a copy of Thoughtseize. So we'll see he wants to order these. He's going to go with Abrupt Decay, take care of your Connections, probably fire in a Mutavault, and put Mann down to 9. I think if you're Mann, you're happy with how this is going, though.
Well, I'm not sure. I think it's still okay, but he hasn't drawn anything over the last 2 turns that can really help him against double Mutavault and Connections. So I think Steven's basically, he's in a tough spot here. He's facing that active Connections, plus he's at a much lower life than his opponent.
Well, this might turn things around, because he's going to play a Pack Rat now. And he's going to play a Pack Rat with the ability to discard the Thoughtseize in his hand to make a 2/2, and he's got 2 Mutavaults out there. So all of a sudden, he could close this game out really quickly. Hiroki picked up a copy of it. Looks like a Scavenging Ooze?
Yes, he has 1 Scavenging Ooze in his sideboard.
Okay. He's going to start by activating his Connections, take a draw. It's a Pack Rat of his own, but his Pack Rat is behind. Because even though he has more resources, and they have the same amount of Mutavaults, he can't play Pack Rat and activate it in the same turn. He doesn't have enough lands to do that.
Yes, but I still think, let's see here, if he just goes Pack Rat Ooze, I kind of like Pack-Rat Ooze here.
That turn's okay. I don't know if that turn's great. I mean, it
Oh,
looks
it's
like
not great, but I still think Steven has to be concerned about the swing back, though. That's the thing.
Sure.
It's like Kenta's at 14. So Steven has only one card in his hand. If he pitches this to make a rat.
Oh, he's pitching that.
Yeah.
He's got 2/2/2 rats, but these can become 5/5 rats on the attack.
Yeah, so he can actually pitch a card to make another rat, plus he can activate both Mutavaults, even if they're not attacking, just to get the pump ability.
I think attacking is actually a spot where you'd want to be, because if you activate, see if he has enough mana, he wouldn't have enough mana to activate Pack-Rat and then attack with both Mutavaults. And it depends on what card he drew. He's going to activate at least one Mutavault here, and I think activating Mutavaults is safe in this situation. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to serve in here with 2 3/3 Pack-Rats and then a 2/2 Mutavault. But he can make that Pack-Rat, those 2 copies of Pack-Rat, bigger at a moment's notice.
Yeah, and I think if you're Kenta, you probably just take this damage.
Whew, it's a lot to take. Ooze looks like it's going to move in front of Mutavault. I imagine, yeah, Mann is going to discard a Temple to make another rat. So that'll make him into 3/3s. Excuse me, into 4/4s. Let's see if he wants to activate Mutavault or not.
I'm surprised he just threw away his Scavenging Ooze there that quickly. I mean, obviously you're killing a Mutavault, but...
Yeah, I don't think his Ooze has a lot of value here simply because he only has 1 green mana. I think if he had a bunch of green mana, I think it'd be better, but given the lack of green mana that he has, the ability to trade with the Mutavault seems okay. I mean, would you rather just jump block with it or just take all the damage?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he only has 1 green, I think is fine. He would have gained a life next turn, so he would have actually he's just basically losing 1. He would saved himself 1 point of damage, basically. But he would have had a 3/3. But yeah, I guess with 3 rats in play, you just got to try to soak up as much damage as you can right now.
Hiroki going to draw a card. It's a copy of Overgrown Tomb. That one's not going to help. You see the 2 copies of Thoughtseize in hand. Those don't help either. Mineral Connections could maybe draw into something useful, but even Bile Blight in this situation is actually not that good. And that's part of the reason that Mann didn't activate the Mutavault, is because if Bile Blight were to target the rats, he could activate Mutavault and turn them into 4/4s.
Yeah.
And Hiroki would lose his Pack-Rat, but Mann would not lose any of his.
So let's see what Hiroki can do here. He can play the Overgrown Tomb to give himself 6 mana next turn to get double Brat activation to try to get back in it. So if Kenta plays the Overgrown Tomb, he can activate one of the rats and then activate Mutavault. So he'll have 3 blockers. There'll be 3/3s. And yeah, Steven's gonna just have Steven's rats are just too big, so he might have to just draw into Bile Blight here.
But Blight doesn't do it.
Blight doesn't do anything, yeah. Maybe Gray Merchant, I guess, but he doesn't even. Yeah, if he draws into Gray Merchant, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll be for 5. He has to play. He'll have to take 2 to play the Overgrown Tomb, so drop him to 4.
Up to 9. Do some blocking. Maybe try to run Gray Merchants.
Block 2 creatures.
Huh.
Yeah, that might have been his best option, because at this point he basically has 3 blockers, and he's just going to lose everything.
Yeah.
He'll stay alive. He'll drop to 4 if he blocks all the rats.
The one thing this does do, however, is that, and I kind of like this play, is just by playing Overgrown Tomb tapped and passing the turn, it makes it so Mann has to think about what he has. Because like we know he has 2 Thoughtseizes in hand. You know, that's not anything. But Mann doesn't know that.
Standard open players.
As much discard as Mann has targeted Hiroki with this game, he doesn't know about those 2 cards. So, you know, he has to worry about Hero's Downfall, Galgari, Charm, Abrupt Decay, all of these other things. Or maybe he doesn't even care about that stuff and he just says, it doesn't matter. Activate Mutavault, attack with everything.
Yeah, I think if you're Steven, I think you just have to activate Mutavault to attack with everything. So I don't think there's going to be a way for him to kind of bluff his way out of this one. If I was Kenta, I think I think your best line is to try to draw into a Gray Merchant instead of trying to make this bluff. Kenta could probably try to activate Underworld Connections here to draw into, if he goes block, Bile Blight after block, just to shrink him. But still, yeah. Let's see what he decides to do here. Again, if he just activates Rat and activates Mutavault, he'll have to block all of the rats. because if Steven activates one of the rats, then all the rats are 5/5s. So you can't take a hit from a rat and a Mutavault.
Well, let's see what Hiroki can figure out, because Mann has made his decision. Everything into the red zone with the ability to activate Pack Rat again.
So Kenta just has to block 3 creatures. He doesn't have to block. He can choose to block one of the Mutavaults if he wants to keep one of his rats alive. But even though all his creatures will end up dying.
Yeah, they will die because of state-based damage, all that stuff.
So let's see.
He will lose them all.
So let's see here. We could see activate both my Mutavaults, block, then pitch to make a Pack Rat. So you lose both your Mutavaults, but you'll still have a Pack Rat in play. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, I don't think that helps him win either.
That won't do anything.
Yeah.
He'll just end up having a Pack Rat in play.
Yeah.
And he's still in the same boat where he needs to draw a Gray Merchant.
It's funny, Mann has definitely been in this situation before. He's played mono black a pretty decent amount. Plays a lot of Magic online too. So Pack Rat was one of the few cards that could actually turn this game around for him in a very, very quick way, especially in combination with the Mutavaults that he had, and he was fortunate enough to find one. Now Hiroki has to figure out how to work himself out of the situation, and I'm not sure there's a way for him to do that. He's going to activate one Mutavault. Looks like he's considering activating another one. But those are 4/4 Pack Rats that are attacked with the ability to become 5/5s. And so now Hiroki's going to discard Thoughtseize to make another Pack Rat. So you've got 2 3/3 Pack Rats and a 2/2 Mutavault. And don't forget that Mutavault can activate the other Mutavault that's in play on Hiroki's side to make the Pack Rats 4/4s.
Yeah, unfortunately, all the... Oh, so let's see. He blocks... Mutavaults block each other. Then 2 rats block 2 rats. And then the other Mutavault gets activated. So there'll be 4 damage on both the rats.
Yep.
Then the Mutavault dies. So Steven will be left with just 2 rats in play.
But he still has the rat advantage.
He has the rat advantage, but Kenta still can draw into
Bioblight now, yeah.
Or even Gray Merchant would still be a good draw.
That'd actually be a pretty good draw. Erebos is going to get discarded. Rat's going to come into play. Hopefully you guys can keep up with all this Pack Rat math. We're trying. Trust me.
Yeah, so Pack Rat is... Erebos gets discarded to Pack Rat to make yet another Pack Rat. So now on Steven's side of the board, there are 5 rats in total, counting the Mutavault. And on Kenta's side of the board, there are now 4 rats after he activates the second Mutavault.
Yep. So all the dust settles. These Mutavaults are going to trade. The rats dealt themselves... Hiroki's rats dealt Mann's rats 1 less damage, but because the Mutavault's gone, now they become the necessary toughness to die. And so now Hiroki has a Mutavault left, Mann has 2 rats left, Mann has no cards in his hand, and Hiroki really wants to draw a Bioblight.
Hiroki fell to 1.
That's a duress, not you.
Wow, unfortunately, Kenta does not draw either a Gray Merchant or even a rat.
And that is going to do it. Steven Mann, in a game that looked like he was not going to be able to win after that turn 1 discard spell, able to figure it out off of the back of Pack Rat, and he is 2-1 here in our Standard Open in Indianapolis. Pretty impressive win.
Yeah, I actually think if Kenta